So the grant was from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They had put a call out nationally to try and develop what they referred to as Centers for Excellence in Vector-Borne Disease. And so there were a number of schools submitted grants for these to try and develop these centers. We worked closely with UTMB, the University of Texas Medical Branch, to be involved in their submission. And we were one of 4 centers that were awarded these funds. And so we call ourselves let me make sure I get this correct, the Western Gulf Center for Excellence in Vector-Borne Disease. And it involves a number of institutions. UTMB is the primary institution, Texas A&M is involved, UT Austin is involved, and we're involved. And we were it was made very clear from the beginning that UTMB wanted our involvement because both of the work that's being done here, but then also the location where we're at risk for a lot of introductions. Obviously, we've had Zika recently here and some other diseases. So the entire grant, it's a 5-year grant, $10 million over the 5-year period. We are getting approximately $600,000 of that over the 5-year period. And that's going to be used primarily for assisting local and regional surveillance efforts, monitoring and trying to detect when there might be cases of Zika, dengue, chikungunya, some of these other diseases that might be found in this region. So with this grant, there's actually 3 components to the grant when the CDC made the call. There was a research component, there was an education component, and then there was an outreach component. We are involved in the education component. It involves educating students in vector biology, and so the center is going to be setting up a certificate program where graduate students who take a prescribed series of courses, in addition to getting their master's or their PhD degree, will also get a certificate from the center stating they're a certified vector biologist. And then the third component is an outreach component where this is sort of the focus of what we're doing. We want to engage in surveillance and assist the region in surveillance activities. So surveillance is basically trying to just engage in any monitoring or detection of diseases before it becomes a major epidemic or a major outbreak.
How'd you hear about the grant?
It was actually brought to my attention by UTMB. Dr. Scott Weaver is the PI on the grant. We've been involved in some other grant submissions and involved in some collaborative research projects, and so he was made aware of this, and he mentioned this to us, and I believe we were either the first or second institution that he contacted. The entire grant was really a collaborative effort, so it wasn't designated one person's going to be doing one section, one person's going to be doing another. For the most part, the entire thing was sent out, and we would modify, add changes, make revisions, add details about what we were proposing to do, send it up to Dr. Weaver. He would collate all these and then send the next version out, and so forth. For the first award that I received, I was jumping over the moon. I mean, it's one of those, you apply for grants, you resubmit, you make revisions, resubmit, or find a new submission process, and it is a very discouraging process. And I tell my students that who are thinking about becoming scientists, you really need to be able to handle failure. And so the first award that I received, it wasn't very much. I think it was about a $20,000 or $30,000 grant. I think that the idea of getting a grant does correlate with success, and I think that that's both a good and a bad thing, because I do think you can be a successful researcher, a successful professor without getting a grant. Unfortunately, the way the system, and the system will be in quotes there, the way the system is set up, that to be recognized to be a successful professor often requires some sort of external funding. Certainly the process of obtaining tenure, the process of promotion, the process of annual review is built to recognize if you've received external funding. Because of the overall decrease in funding opportunities and decrease in funding amounts, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it's the way the system runs right now. So some of the biggest components or biggest factors that I think are important for grant writing is you really have to have a clear idea of what you want to do, be able to explain it very well, succinctly yet completely, so that people who aren't in your head that don't know what you're talking about, that don't know you personally, can have a very good understanding of what you want to be doing with the money you're asking for. I think that collaboration is also a very key component, collaborating both within your department or within the school. So you have to be a little bit of a salesman. You have to be able to pitch the idea, why something might be important to study, why your particular approach may be a good approach to use. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to be successful in grant writing. When you're writing grants, you really have to try to use language that's going to be common, not for the specific field, but the general field you're in. And I think that succinctness is a key factor. As a grant reviewer, I don't want to read something in 2 pages that can be written in half a page. I do think, however, that a lot of the collaboration needs to be done at the faculty level. And it can't be someone else doing it for you. You have to really want to do it yourself. You have to be interested in working with a person. You have to really be trying to balance the expectations, because certainly that other person has meetings and deadlines and classes that they're doing, and so it can be a difficult thing to try and pursue. So it does take a lot of effort to try and pursue and develop collaborative relationships. But if the faculty members on both sides put that time and effort in, it's a very rewarding potential. It can lead to good research, it can lead to good funding opportunities.